Hello everyone, my name is Shushrit. This is the first video of the series Conquering the Pre-Sales. I have planned to create a series of videos which will give you a very good understanding of various activities that we do in our day-to-day pre-sales life and that comes under umbrella of pre-sales function. And I will be keeping all the videos aligned to typical industry day-to-day activities as a pre-sales consultant so that we understand the ground reality. So let's get started. The topic for the series, what I have planned to cover is in the part 1, which is this part. We will be learning about pre-sales lifecycle in IT. Then in part 2, we will learn about breakdown of pre-sales, what is RFP, RFI, go-to-market, point of view, and what is a typical day in life of pre-sales consultant. In part 3, we will be demystifying RFX. By RFX, I mean RFIs, RFPs, RFQs, and we will learn more about that. The fourth part will be the most important part, and I will try to be as detailed as possible in this part because this is the heart and soul of a pre-sales consultant, where we learn about the crafting winning responses. What do we mean by key win themes? What is a PPT strawman? What is PPT storyboarding? So we will learn all these things in the fourth part. In the fifth part, we will learn about creating capability presentation and point of view. There might be various capabilities that we create as a part of pre-sales function, like practice capability, product capability, so on and so forth. In the next part, we'll learn about what do we mean by go-to-market strategy. This is also very common in all the growing organization that as a pre-sales consultant need to understand. Then pre-sales and marketing goes hand in hand, and how do we collaborate with marketing? We will learn in part 7. In part 8, we will learn about creating business presentation. So one of the top challenges, basically what I have seen over the years is for a particular technical person, they might be very strong in technical aspects, but when it comes to creating presentations, they might not be very good. So I will cover the basics to create a good presentation, and we will discuss all the nitty-gritties in that part. In part 9, we will understand about Agile Implementation approach, delivery approach, implementation plan, and in part 10, we will learn about project delivery approach, project management, governance, and operating model. So part 9 and part 10 primarily will focus on learning all the items that I have mentioned that typically comes in RFP response, and so I thought it's a good idea to see all these topics also. Okay, moving on to the first part, which is introduction to pre-sales lifecycle in IT industry. So the agenda, what I thought will make sense for today is we will learn about end-to-end CRM project journey. Then we will break down program objectives, and we will see from a customer eye. And finally, we will see typical pre-sales responsibilities and typical pre-sales roles. Okay. So, okay, we have someone here. Let's talk to him and understand what does he need. Hey, my name is Curious Guy, and I was wondering if you can help me. Sure, I am here to help, but for that, first I will have to understand what is your problem. I am a techie, and I have recently started a new position that requires pre-sales skills. Okay, that's a great choice, by the way. Then, and I don't feel confident. Okay, now I understand where you are coming from. Don't worry. learning pre-sales is very easy. We are going to discuss each and every concept in detail in this series. Just follow the series, and I think we will be good to have more than basic knowledge of pre-sales function. Okay, so let's get started with an obvious question. Why pre-sales? There is a myth about pre-sales that pre-sales skill is needed only for MBAs and business people, and pre-sales is difficult to understand. But the fact is, we all will go professionally over the years in corporate. As we move up the ladder, the amount of expectation from us will also increase, isn't it? I'm sure that as we grow to senior positions, eventually a time will come when we will be required to contribute in maybe practice growth, account growth, or vertical growth, and maybe increasing the revenue of whatever portfolio we are handling. So in all those situations, actually, to contribute in a right way, I would say to create a real impact in the organization, it is very essential that we understand the pre-sales function, because all the things that we would do in the capacity of a senior leader will go hand in hand with pre-sales function. So it is very important we understand this pre-sales function in deep. And secondly, there are a lot of techno-functional people which I have seen are there in the market who has excellent technical knowledge and are now willing to move to business side, but they are stuck because they really don't understand about the pre-sales. And I think pre-sales is perfect gateway to move to the business side. For those people, I think it will make a perfect fit for roles like pre-sales engineer, and thus understanding of pre-sales becomes even more important to know which role to target. So with all these pointers in the mind, let us understand a typical CRM project journey first. So in this slide, I will just try to give you an overview of end-to-end CRM project journey from the start of a thought process from the customer to the delivery of the real required product. So let us assume a company A who wants to transform their business process. Now there are many companies in the market who might be there since 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, and stuck in some legacy technologies. So there might be various departments in their organization like HR departments or sales department who are not utilizing the next gen technologies, and maybe if I have to give an example, let's say the sales department are tracking opportunities in Excel even today. So for all those business process, what company will do, they will identify key business process that needs to be transformed, and they will seek approval and budget. They will seek budget approval and duration approval from the business sponsor. Once that is done, they will finalize the scope, and they will see if that can be implemented in-house. So they will assess the internal capability and suppose that can be developed in-house. The next logical step will be to finalize the requirement and kick off the implementation cycle. Now again, there might be several companies like manufacturing companies or oil and gas companies or some other companies who are not in the IT business. They might not have any IT department within themselves who is capable of achieving this all the required say business transformation. So what they will do, they will reach out to their vendors, their SI partners, uh, then they will circulate a document called RFP document in which they will write the requirements that they want to achieve. Once their SI partners or vendors receive the requirement, they will start creating a proposal for the requirements. The proposal document will contain the scope of the implementation. Then there are many things that is there in the proposal document. Just to name a few, it contains understanding of the requirements. Then it will contain the solution aspect, how we are going to solutionize. Then it will contain company credentials. It will contain similar case study that we have done. It will contain the project delivery approach. Then it will contain the timelines and the commercials. So all these things will be packaged and will be sent across to the customer. When the customer receives that, so for the sake of argument, let us assume there are 10 vendors or 10 SI partners who is participating in this RFP. Out of that, only 5 qualifies for the next round. So customer really finds a good proposition for the 5, let's say for the 5 vendors, and they invite them for the orals. In the orals, what typically happens, vendor will give a walkthrough of the solution and the pricing to the customer. They will make them understand what is the thought process. If the customer has any doubt or any further clarification, they will ask the vendor and they will clarify. Then a negotiation phase will start, maybe pricing negotiation or project duration negotiation. Some of the customers want to get the implementation done in the in the 3 months, but the vendor has given them a timeline of 5 months. So they will see how they can reduce the scope and get the MVP rolled out in the 3 months or so on and so forth. So after all those negotiations, finally the company A will select one vendor and the statement of work will be signed and the contract will be signed and the implementation will be kicked off. So the first logical thing in any implementation is discovery and design phase, where people from vendor side, mostly architects and business analysts and people like that will talk to company to understand their technical landscape, understand the requirement in detail. If there any clarification, they will understand that from the company, and they might come up with the user story or the final set of requirements that needs to be implemented. Once that is done, the solution design is also created in the same phase, or it might be created at the start of implementation phase. Then we will have agile implementation, where there will be a set of sprints, maybe 4 sprints, 5 sprints. That is a time boxed event, and in each sprint there will be a development and quality assurance. Once that is done, it will move to user acceptance phase, where a customer will test the solution and give a sign off if the solution is good. Once that is done, UAT phase is also passed. Then the implemented product will be launched and it is go live. Post go live, there will be warranty support from the vendor, where they will give mostly it is from 2 to 4 weeks of warranty phase that I have seen. So all the tickets, all the issues that has been raised by the customer or customers, users or customers in those 2 to 4 weeks will be taken care of by the vendor. Post that, the product is handed over to the customer. Now it is up to customer to continue with the same vendor for maintenance, or they might invite another RFP for another maintenance and support partner. So normally this is a life cycle or end-to-end journey of a CRM project. The first leg of this project journey is basically a corporate strategy, where people will strategize what are the top business process that needs to be taken care of in the probably in this quarter or in this year, and so on and so forth. The second part is typically a pre-sales from RFP to SOW, and the last part is of delivery. So I think we understand all these things. Let's move to the next slide. Okay, let's talk on corporate strategy for a couple of minutes. See, understanding the overall customer roadmap, the corporate vision is very important for drafting a winning response. We should always try to understand if the current program in scope is a subset of a very large transformation program or it's a standalone program. What is the length and breadth of the program that we are involved in? Then it always makes sense to understand what are the key challenges the customer is trying to address. Then what is the overall strategy for the adoption of technology in scope? If I have to give an example, let's say some customers might want to move to Salesforce, some customers might want to move to Oracle or some other technologies. So we should understand the technical footprint, strategy of a roadmap of the customer in coming years, so that we can align our solutions in that manner. So understanding the big picture is very essential. Then once we understand that, we also need to understand the business goals and objective of the program in scope for which the RFP has been floated. So this program can be a part of a big IT transformation roadmap, but understanding the goals and objective of the program which is floated in the RFP is very important, is equally important, I would say. Then understand any key challenges areas around that, and any key decision that the customer has already made. So we should be aware of all those things. Then there might be several business functions in any program. Maybe first business function of transformation. I'm repeatedly using transformation because people will and you will instantly connect with that, because these are the things we hear in any corporate. So let's say for any program, there might be multiple business function. Example, I have shown here the marketing business function. There might be sales, HR, finance. So for a particular business function, what is the outcome that customer is trying to achieve? We should understand that clearly. Then what are the capabilities that the customer is trying to enable? So for, let's say, for marketing business function, they are trying to enable multi-channel lead management. So there will be various capabilities like that the customer might be interested in enabling. So we should take a note of all those capabilities, all those outcomes, then draft our response. Then the third thing would be, what are the business personas or a technical persona that would be impacted in that program? Then what are the KPIs that customer is looking for that will be tracked? Like for marketing, there can be KPIs of increasing campaign ROI, then increasing lead to opportunity conversion. So all these aspects of any program we should understand clearly before drafting the proposal. Then only we can draft a winning proposal, or else the proposal won't be good enough to qualify or go to the next stage. So similarly, as I mentioned here, for business function 1, there might be similar outcomes capabilities for business function 2, 3, and so on and so forth. So we should be very sure of all these things, and then only we should draft the proposal. Actually, this is the most important most important slide of any proposal, and if a customer finds that or whatever we are putting here is is aligned to their goals, their objectives, then it's a sure shot win for us. Okay, so once we understand this, let us quickly understand about pre-sales responsibilities and roles. Okay, let's first take pre-sales responsibilities. So the core function or the core responsibility of any pre-sales, as the name goes, is to support sales. So how do we support sales? We support sales in running RFPs and any other opportunities or deals. We support sales by creating capabilities that may be practice capability, product capability, or any other capability that they need. If they have created a target account, we need to create a pitch for that so that they can take those pitch to the identified account. Then we need to help them by creating point of view decks. Then we need to help them by creating demos or proof of concepts and so on and so forth. So this is not the exhaustive list of all the things that we need to do as a pre-sales consultant, but I have just mentioned so that it gives you a perspective of just give you a flavor what needs to be done while supporting sales. Similarly, we need to support marketing team also, because they might be knowing about our technology, they might not be well appraised of our technology. So we need to share our practice specific contents with marketing team. We need to share analyst specific contents to them whenever we are responding to analysts like Gartner or Forrester and so on and so forth. We need to share the technical contents. We might need to give them specific contents regarding marketing collaterals like websites, or if they are creating any blogs, white papers, so on and so forth. And of course, we need to review contents created by them as and when required. The third thing would be delivery support. In many organizations, I have seen the delivery is not involved in early phases of RFP. In such cases, we need to give them a proper handover whenever we win any deal. And in case it's a net new logo, we don't have any account team, we might need to raise a resource requisition also. And finally, we also need to support practice growth. We are a part of. We need to track active opportunities, hot opportunities, warm opportunities, and or the opportunity that is blue sky. And we need to make sure that it is being pursued by the salespeople in a right manner, and we need to track them accordingly. Now we might need to organize internal webinars, enablement session for sales, or maybe some town halls and so on and so forth. And we need to create learning engagement sessions also. So this is all about responsibilities. Let's talk about typical roles. Typical pre-sales roles. So the first one is pre-sales lead and pre-sales team. So pre-sales team and leads forms the part of pre-sales, practice pre-sales, I would say, which focuses on the particular technology. What I've seen in most of the IT consulting companies, there would be multiple practices, or we say them horizontals also. Say we have Salesforce practice or Oracle practice, SAP practice, and probably they will have their own pre-sales team, which would be highly skilled in pre-sales and the respective technology. So that team would be called as a pre-sales, a practice pre-sales team. So what happens if if a big RFP comes? So as we understand, if a Salesforce, let's say we are talking about Salesforce pre-sales team. If a Salesforce RFP comes, then obviously Salesforce pre-sales team will be responsible for end-to-end response of the RFP. Now, as I was asking a question some 30 seconds back, what happens if we have a multi-technology RFP? So let's understand this. Again, the IT consulting firm can also get multi-technology RFP, like a big RFP involving, let's say, Salesforce as a CRM stack, SAP as ERP stack, then maybe MuleSoft as integration layer, or if I have to call out, maybe Power BI as visualization tool, Adobe as marketing engine, and so on and so forth. So in all those cases, as you might have rightly guessed, there will be a central bid team which would be interacting with respective technology team to respond to RFPs and other pre-sales related queries. So those RFPs are typically run by a central bid team whose responsibilities would be to collate with technologies or practices to get the required information and create proposal. Okay. Now we have architects, pre-sales engineer or solution engineer who provides support function in solutioning, estimation, and resource loading. Basically, they are responsible for technical aspects of the RFP response. Then we have a sales consultant who provides sales insights, winning themes that might fly for the particular RFP, and typically they will lead the pursuit. Then we will have a finance team who will provide finance support on pricing and margin and calculation, and they will help with any approvals if it is required. And finally we will have legal team that takes care of any legal considerations if specifically asked in RFP. So I think we are at the end of the session. This was an introduction to pre-sales. Let's say let me recap what we have understood. We have learnt about why pre-sales, where we talked about pre-sales is not only for MBAs and business people; it is for everyone. And at some point of time in our career, when we are at a higher position, we have to grow practice or bring revenues to the practice. Then pre-sales skill becomes a must. Then we learned about end-to-end CRM project journey, where we learned about 3 layers. One is corporate strategy, then the pre-sales function, then the delivery function. We saw the breakdown of program objectives, where we learned about corporate visions, program objectives. Then there might be multiple business functions. We need to understand the outcome, capabilities, personas involved, and KPIs that customer wants to track. If we have information around these, if we have a good content around this, then our proposals will becomes a winning proposal. I mean, we will seriously relate to the customer, and we will be aligned to their thought process. So our winning chance increases exponentially. Then we talked about pre-sales responsibilities, where we saw how a pre-sales team supports sales, then supports marketing, how they support delivery, and obviously support their own practice. Lastly, we saw about a typical pre-sales role, where we talked about practice pre-sales, and then centralized bid team. We talked about solution engineer and architect. Then we talked about sales consultant, legal team, and finally the finance team, who helps in creating and RFPs and in another responses. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, this was the introduction to pre-sales. In the next video, we will understand the typical pre-sales deal, where we'll understand more about RFPs, RFQs, RFIs, then go-to-market, point of views, capability piece that I mentioned in this video, estimation, then RL, pursuit plan, SOW, POC. So all these terms will come frequently whenever we work in a pre-sales in a capacity of a pre-sales consultant, and these things are not difficult also. But the only problem is like most of the pre-sales consultant that I have seen might be confused with some term or other. So if we understand where to use what and what are the things that needs to be taken care of in if we are if we are working on a particular artifact, then it really becomes easy. Then we will learn about deal types, then we'll learn about pre-sale ceremonies, and finally typical challenge. Okay, I think that's all from now. As you might have seen, we have a lot of exciting stuffs coming in this series. So stay tuned and thank you for watching. Bye for now.